a restaurant with my family. I remember going to the bathroom. I honestly was about like 9, 10 years old. I was young. And I remember coming back from the bathroom and somebody kind of ushered me over, like, waved a hand like that. And I went over and they said, I'm kind of done. Can you clear this plate if you don't mind? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't work here.
And at 10 years old, too,
yeah,
I guess that's like, what the?
Yeah, no. And it really took me back. And, they were like, oh, I'm sorry. Like maybe it was a black shirt or something. And I'm like, no, it's all right. But I didn't pay much mind to it. I guess, what would a 10-year-old do with that kind of, how would he digest that? So I definitely, like, later on, I thought about it because, things like that did happen too, being in buildings and somebody asking if I was, doing a delivery. And, that definitely did cultivate a animosity, if you'd say, to my own kind. And am I proud of that? No, I'm not. That thought is very conflicting with me. I wrestle with that every day in terms of my place in this world. And it is sad. It is sad because that's how, like, hate is bred. And it's just unfortunate that people, they judge before they know, even to the slightest bit. It doesn't, I'm not asking you to, sit down and have a conversation with me. Be a little more cautious, a little kinder, a little, I don't know.
And it's frustrating too because somebody who's watching this or listening to this might think, oh, they've had like maybe one or two experiences, but I don't think people realize like this is kind of a daily thing. The story you first started with literally happened about 3 days ago. I've been here in New York City for, I think, coming up 3 years now, and I've had a lot of experiences with racism from my own kind, and I think even kind of backing up to being a teenager and like young adulthood, that it happens regularly, and so that's where it's bred. That's kind of where hatred or like unkindness or uncomfortableness, I guess, if that's a word, kind of what comes from.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to anybody who is watching and has any kind of experiences like this too. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be adopted or follow in the same footsteps as I did, but I'd be definitely curious to see if you ever had experiences like me or like Megan. I definitely love to hear that. Feel free to drop a passage in the comment section of the YouTube, or definitely always feel free to send us messages via our social media. We're always active. We're always here to welcome any questions that you might have. But with that being said too, I can't help but think of that one time, when we were waiting for the train on 34th Street. This was a little bit more of a, I don't know how do you say it, a little bit more of a standoffish experience where somebody was deliberately trying to bully. Yeah. This is how it kind of goes. So me and Megan, we were on 34th Street waiting for the train to go uptown, I believe. The train was about to come. I remember specifically a group of, two older-ish guys. I'd like to say around like 26 to 30. And, they had, a few younger, maybe nieces or daughters. I'm not sure. One of them came up to me and they asked me for directions in Spanish. And I didn't know what to say because I don't know Spanish. Side note, it does bother me knowing that I don't know it because I feel like limited. I feel like there's already like a roadblock on me, like I hit a ceiling and I can't go any further. And, based on the circumstances of my life, learning Spanish isn't top priority. So with that being said, I kind of said like, I don't understand. And they kind of kept on, I think, asking it one more time. And I just kind of said like, no habla español, because that's what I've learned, To
say like, that's like your backup plan, like your defense mechanism in situations where somebody isn't listening to you or doesn't care to kind of hear you out at all.
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm trying to relate with you.
Yeah.
The slightest.
Yeah. And they kind of looked at me a little funny and they kind of walked away and just said, okay. And I was like, okay, like it was a pretty awkward exchange. They went back to their group of family or friends. Everything was fine for like a few seconds until I overheard them mocking me, and it was really...
And pointing and laughing.
And just kind of, mocking the words I said in a weird manner. And I was really shocked. I honestly didn't know what to say. At first, I had no feelings towards it. Just kind of like, are you kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, here we are, you know, like I'm the same color as this person who is making fun of me, and I don't have words for it. I just don't understand, and it really makes me sad. I don't get that.
And it's kind of like, I don't mean to come off any kind of way, but I can't help but think that in those situations where they think we're joking around with them or something, that they think we're trying to be superior to them, you know, in some kind of way. We live in a nicer neighborhood, and so it's, you know, it comes off a certain way a lot of the time to people, and we're not clueless. We understand we're very blessed to be here. We understand we have a lot of privileges over a lot of minorities, just based on being adopted. You know, for somebody to kind of come at us and to kind of bully us in that way, and then to sit there in the train, I remember on the way home, just the laughing continued, the pointing, and it's just kind of like, I don't understand. Like, I'm not trying to demeanor you. I'm not trying to look down on you. I'm not trying to be anything else than just a normal human being. And like you said, just, well, what do you do?
Yeah. And, you know, it does make me feel like very, very sad, particularly because of things that are going on, you know, with immigration, with people who are getting bullied because they don't know English, who are trying to fight for their rights to be seen as equals, when then simultaneously you have these same people who are also feeling very the opposite in a way. And, you know, I don't mean to rub anyone the wrong way. I really don't. I you know, feel free obviously to write to express your opinions on the things that I'm saying, because I'd love to hear them. These thoughts they're not finished by any means. I'm still sifting through them as we speak. I try to live my life as balanced as I can when any kind of conflict arises, whether it's a big thing dealing with the national issues, or whether it's something little dealing with, you know, maybe a conflict between me and you. I definitely try to err on the side of balance and to see both perspectives, and try to take myself out of myself and looking at the conflict as a third person, to try and just get a better understanding of the situation, so I can respond as logical and as sensible as someone could be. And I'm not perfect, you know, I'm always trying to work on that too. But with that said, it's just interesting too that, you know, as much as you have a lot of good, you know, people and people who have the right intentions and who want to see their culture grow and see people being treated fairly and equally, which I'm 100% for, it's just interesting to see that there are also other people too on the other side of that, you know, in all cultures too, who are just very racist too, and not just racist to other people per se, but my firsthand experience was, you know, they were being racist to me, and I'm like your brother. I'm you know, like we're supposed to be in this together, and it just kind of hurts. And, you know, I can't help but, you know, relate those specific Hispanics to anybody in this country who has these kind of negative opinions about other races. You know, one might, you know, call them, I don't know how you'd call them, but just, I think you might know what I'm talking about. And I'm not quite sure what to make of that. All I'm trying to say is that I'm just trying to shed light on my experiences and where I come from, and when I see these articles and all these things that I see wrong in America, specifically towards like where I come from. I mean, I have a brother and a sister who both came to this country, you know, illegally, and they fought their way. I God knows how. I haven't talked to them about that. They haven't spoken to me about that, but they are in California right now, and I have a personal connection with you know, immigrants in that sense, my own blood, and it's just interesting.
It's kind of like, to kind of sum it up, I think it's one of those things. It's like, how do you expect me to be loyal when my own kind, or feel any sympathy to my own kind, when they're constantly bashing me, they're constantly treating me like I'm something else, and I also feel like I'm something else because I was raised, you know, with Caucasians and family and friends. So it's like, it's this constant battle where, yes, you're talking a little bit about immigration, and people are like, well, you should stand this way, you should stand here, you should be this because you're Peruvian, you should understand. And I'm just kind of, we're kind of over here, you know, on the other side being like understand, but like how, like I said, this is going to come off kind of weird, but how do you expect me to stand with you if you've never stood with me, if you've always beaten me down, if you've always like honestly segregated me from my own kind based on a circumstance and a situation that I had no control over. I wasn't a baby sitting there like, pick me, like I'm better than you and you. Like we were chosen for, you know, for all the great reasons in the world. Like I'm very grateful, but it also comes with these negative conflicts and internal and external problems.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do when you're raised, and honestly every single Caucasian that you've interacted with has shown you nothing but love. And you know, then on the other side it's a huge mixed bag of positive but also negative, and very negative, you know. And I don't mean to come off like that, but you know, it does make me upset. And when I see things on the news, and when I hear things about the injustices that, you know, these people, my people, are facing, because I wear the same skin color as you, and I identify. I can't help but I identify. My face just oozes South American, like oozes like Peruvian. I can't help that. So I can't help but feel that I am a part of you. And, you know, whether I like it or not, I am. What do I do when I see these, you know, articles and stuff about the injustices? And then I think about all the times that, you know, somebody made fun of me because I didn't know Spanish. Somebody looked down on me because they thought that I was trying to act better than them, judging me. And I'm not even judging you. I'm simply just trying to explain myself. And then you want, like you said, you want me to sympathize with you. You want me to understand your struggle. And yet you don't want to understand mine. Like you said, you want my loyalty. Well, I don't know, because I feel hurt. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I feel like, you know, it is something to be said too. I also feel like in my life and in how I've conducted my life is I like to spread all information. I like to be the advocate for the minority vote. Whether, you know, just the majority feels a certain way doesn't mean that the minority shouldn't feel entitled to feel how they feel, if it's a real feeling, if it's a true feeling to them, like I feel too, about my feelings towards the injustices too that I felt with my own personal experiences. And, you know, I'm sorry if it's getting a little too serious, but, you know, it is a serious topic, and it is something that is a huge part of me, and it's a huge part of our identity, and it is a huge part of this podcast, because we are all talking about identity, and we're all in the search of finding ourselves. And I just would like to say that, and maybe if anyone has any thoughts on that, feel free, like I said, to just write it down. Like let me know, like
pro or like for it and against it, because you said this isn't like end all be all. This isn't like my final thought. It's and we might be coming across, okay, we're anti our own kind, and that's just not true either.
No.
I think we're just saying we've had really bad experiences, and I mean, we could sit here for hours with you and tell you about every single experience. We're just kind of, you know, pushing this into a small time limit of things, but we would love to talk to you about it. You know, if you're completely not understanding this at all, or if you are, love to hear feedback, because, you know, we do have a lot of Hispanic and Latino friends, and we love them to death, and that doesn't mean that everybody's treated us horribly. There's been so many people, even just as we started Supe and kind of getting back into it, that have reached out to us, and when they find out we're adopted, and just have been really intrigued, and like those are, you know, our own friends, and it's been really nice to see and to feel supported. And I guess we're just kind of shedding light on some situations that are a little bit negative, that come with being adopted, that come with having brown skin, but maybe feeling more white inside.
And we express it so it can change. You know, we can shed light on it, just like we're shedding light on a lot of, you know, things that have been long overdue to talk about, and just, you know, have conversations, because I think conversations is the first major step to making change and having progress, and coming to mutual understanding with another individual, you know, so everyone can be happy and everyone can be heard. Maybe with that, we'll say,
we'll wrap it up.
it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time on Life of the Lost. Take care, guys.